Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, May 15th, and it's a little cooler today. As you can see, I'm wearing my sweater, and it's just nice and refreshing. And I'm drinking my freshly squeezed Peruvian fruit juice. The fruit that grows here is amazing. You don't get it in North America. So I would encourage you guys to come down if you haven't already been to Peru and try their food and their fresh fruit. I mean, even their papayas are like the size of watermelons, and their mangoes are the size of small bowling balls, and just delicious. Anyways, we are in Daniel chapter 8. There's a lot here. This is a deep prophetic chapter. So let's get into it. Daniel chapter 8. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. So this vision happened about 2 years after his last dream of the 4 beasts in chapter 7. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So this ram represents the Medo-Persian Empire. The higher horn symbolizes the Persians' power. So they were a lot more stronger than the Medos, or the Medes. Verse 4, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did accordingly to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So this is without a doubt the Greek Empire. And the horn represents Alexander the Great, was their first fearless leader. Neighbors are working on their house. How rude. Anyways, verse 6. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and broke his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stomped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So this is exactly what Alexander the Great did to the Medo-Persians. He swiftly came in and took them out, which you will see in the next chapter. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. Now, at the height of Alexander's power, he died at an early age, at 33. Then his 4 successors took over the kingdom, and they divided it into 4 kingdoms. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. Now the first abomination would come from a little horn that would arise out of the division of the large horn that was broken, which was Alexander the Great. In contrast to the little horn, which was the Antichrist, in the last chapter of Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, which accompanied the 10 horns of the 4 kingdoms, which is the last kingdom in the last days, the Roman Empire, or the one world order. The little horn represents a leader that would come out of one of the divisions of Alexander's empire. Even though the little horns of Daniel 7 and 8 are different individuals or leaders, they have one major thing in common. and they persecute God's people. And I believe, I'll go as far to say, I believe that Satan himself has tried to indwell himself through these past leaders in history to take over the world. But because it wasn't his time, God stopped him in his tracks until the last days, or which are the days that we're living in now. And I believe that that kingdom is already getting ready and prepared for him through the Antichrist to take over the world. Now this little horn of verse 9 would do incredibly evil things to the Jewish people and the temple site in Jerusalem, which we will read in Daniel chapter 11. This little horn would turn out to be Antiochus Epiphanes of the Seleucid Empire, also called the King of the North. All right. Now this is where we get into some really deep prophetic stuff here. Verse 10. And it waxed great. So this little horn waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Now I believe that that is talking about Satan himself. And he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spoke, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Okay, so now all that is very fascinating, because the Roman Empire did that when Jesus came down. They crucified Jesus by the intimidation of the Jews. The Romans crucified Jesus on the cross, and in 70 AD they destroyed the temple. So this would later be fulfilled when the Messiah would come. It's just fascinating. And also in the last verse here, and he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Now also these verses here describe the abomination, and it's a dual meaning. For example, verse 11 says, He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host. Antiochus fulfilled the first abomination. He definitely was an Antichrist type. Now I believe that the devil tried to fulfill Daniel's prophetic vision of the Antichrist in the end times by manifesting himself through Antiochus to set up the abomination of desolation in the temple. At the time of the end, one will be a type of the little horn of verse 9, will follow in Antiochus' footsteps, as it talks about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. The latter will actually be a fulfillment of the little horn of Daniel in chapter 7. So it's almost like a double prophecy there. Verse 15, And it came to pass, when I, even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. So at the time of the end shall be the vision, I believe, in the last days. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest, having two horns, are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Greece, and the great horn that is between his eye is the first king, which was Alexander the Great. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, so in those 4 kingdoms that were Alexander the Great's successors, would eventually spread, grow its power, because out of it, the little horn will eventually be the Antichrist coming out of one of these 4 kingdoms. Now this is fascinating. Watch this. Verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full. I find that very fascinating, because in I believe it's Second Thessalonians chapter 2, Paul says that the mystery of iniquity will abound just before the man of lawlessness will be revealed, just before the Antichrist would be revealed. And we're seeing that right now. We are seeing lawlessness being abounding everywhere. Iniquity is abounding everywhere. People's hearts are going cold. People's hearts are very dark. And there's just so much sin right now. And so I believe that this is talking about the last days, the very last days. And it says, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, the Antichrist, just like what Paul said. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Satan will manifest through him, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And that's why the Bible says that the Antichrist, he will wear down the saints, right? He will make war against God's people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Meaning everything he touches, he will prosper, he will control it, and it will just be given to him. And we can see that right now. Nations, leaders of nations are giving their powers over to the beast system right now, preparing it for the Antichrist. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, which is Jesus Christ himself. But isn't that interesting where it says, and by peace shall destroy many? What does it say in the last days? It says, when everyone says peace, peace, then sudden destruction is going to come. So this is an Antichrist who comes by false peace. It's interesting. What Islam teaches, the religion of peace. But they're very deceiving. And they have a very wicked spirit within them. And people that actually believe that Islam is a peaceful religion, you're being deceived. Oh, the nephews are here. Anyways, we're almost done. No, come on in. It's okay. You're not in the video. All right. But he shall be broken without hand. So basically, here, let me just rewind, or let me just repeat this verse. Kind of got distracted, but that's okay. I'm not going to edit these videos. Verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Now, that parallels Nebuchadnezzar's dream of that huge statue. Remember, he was the head of gold, and then the Medes and Persians were the silver, and then you had the Greeks, the Alexander the Great, which was the bronze from his waist down, and then you had the Roman Empire from his legs that were iron. Um, and then in the dream he saw that huge rock being cut out from the mountain or the earth, and it was cast down at the feet, at the 10 toes that represents 10 nations, the one world order, the beast system, and the rock crashed the toes and the whole statue came crumbling down. That's what it means here. But he shall be broken without hand. And that's, of course, Jesus setting up his kingdom, coming back to the earth with all of his saints, destroying the Antichrist and the one world order. Verse 26. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. Wow. Can you imagine that? Having that crazy vision, knowing that it comes from God, knowing that something terrible is about to come, but you just don't know when it's going to happen, or you can't understand it because it's a mystery. Now, what's so cool, now this is what I believe. I believe that the vision that God gave Daniel when he said pretty much to seal up the vision until that certain time, I believe that that vision was given to John, the disciple of Jesus, who wrote the book of Revelation on the island of Patmos. And I believe that because you'll see a parallel right in chapter 12, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So this is what I believe. But anyways, I encourage you guys to study it. Don't just take my teaching or my word for it, because I could be wrong. But through prayer and researching myself, I believe that to be accurate. But again, you guys study. And there is another brother, he may be watching right now, I don't know, but he commented on my last video on chapter 7, and he believes something different about these visions and these prophecies of the beasts, the statue, and the animals, the goat and the ram. He believes all that to be taking place in the last days. The one world order gathering up all the different nations. Now, he could be right. He could be right. I'm going to post I'm going to copy his comment, and I'm going to post it in the description box at the end of this video. Just because I want to make these videos known that I'm not here to say that I'm right and you're wrong. Because when it comes to the scriptures, some of the things of the scriptures can be not complicated, but you really have to pray, and you really have to do your research. And sometimes people get scriptures mixed up, and that could be me. So that's why I encourage you guys to study the scriptures yourself. But I'm giving it to you as best as my knowledge. But anyways, I am going to post his comment and all of his research. I mean, he did it. It was a lot, and I read it. And I appreciate you for posting that. I do. And so I'm going to post it for you guys so that you can see too, because it's good to be open, right? different um, eschatology in the scriptures, and different views, and I'm totally open to that. So, anyways, before I keep going on and on, God bless you guys, and thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow for chapter 9. God bless.